Hi, true avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 71, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I am a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. So I missed last week. Apologies for that, but I went to an Indian wedding. It was beautiful, gorgeous, fun time. But while I was in India, I didn't get to play a lot of video games because my Nintendo Switch 2 got hijacked by the groom's little brother. He's 13 years old. He's adorable, but also took my Nintendo Switch 2, so I did not get to play much. But also, while I was gone, I just decided I'm not going to look too much at video game news. Like, I'm just too much on top of everything else. But couldn't really look away because it seemed like everything was happening in the last 2 weeks. I take 1 week off and it all goes to hell. Anyway, most of the news was good, to be honest, but it was just a lot. So I haven't even gone through everything that I missed in the last 2 weeks. I'm going to do my best to get through a lot of it today by myself. And then for the segment, I will have a guest. Cleo is joining me to talk about Unbeatable. Something we were supposed to talk about back in December, and then, Unbeatable, the episode we were supposed to record that, Unbeatable got delayed last minute. And it seems for the better because the game turned out really well. But then the next chance for us to actually talk about it was pretty much right now. So we're going to discuss that, in the segment. But, for this part of the show, it's just going to be the news. I can't even talk about what I've been playing because I have not been playing much. However, there are a few things I want to just discuss that are kind of adjacent to the podcast and also adjacent to queer things. First off, on the last episode, I got some really, really nice comments. I haven't responded to them yet. I'm going to, but I just want to say, in general, I really, really love it when I get comments. They make the podcast worth it. Any engagement, I just am reminded that people enjoy the content that I'm making, and that it has some value to people. Cause it has value to me and I enjoy doing it, but sometimes, it's just when you're in the thick of it and it becomes a little bit of a chore, just going through the motions, it just feels a little bit tedious. And so when I do get comments, when I do get engagement, it feels very rewarding. And reminds me why I'm doing this, to be honest. Because the work it takes to do the podcast does take away from playing video games at times. I'm just so busy, and I feel like everyone is busy these days. It just feels I was talking with my aunt actually, and we talked about how feeling busy, even though it takes up the same amount of time as it used to, let's say 5 or 6 years ago. What happened 5 or 6 years ago? The pandemic. Now it just feels like being busy is a lot harder and takes up a lot more of your mental bandwidth. So anyway, when I get nice comments, when I get engagement, it just feels really, really good. So, again, no pressure, but if you can leave a comment at the end of an episode, that would be fantastic. I really, really love reading your feedback. I love reading your thoughts. Even sometimes when I get negative engagement, sometimes I get dislikes on episodes, and I'm I wonder why people dislike that. Are they just queerphobic? Did I say something they disagreed with? Cause no one will say. If you do have some queerphobia, keep it to yourself, but, if you have hey, Zoe, you're actually wrong about this, or I disagree with you on this, cool. Debate me down in the comments, but just be, polite. But anyway, however, I did mention that I didn't play any games. I played a little bit of, Legends ZA on the plane heading to India, and I played a little bit of, what else did I play? Well, I played more Celeste. I'm not going to talk about it till Lloyd is back on, but I did play more Celeste. So those are the two things I played a little bit of. I was going to play more, didn't. But I was reading. I had actually some time to read while I was in India on my downtime. And I was reading this book called Welcome to Dorley Hall. And for anyone who hasn't heard of this book, it's a little niche. I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about this, but I'm hearing it talked about a little bit in queer circles. It was actually an old Twitter mutual that was talking about it on Blue Sky at one point, and I was oh, that sounds interesting. I'm going to look up what this is about. And basically, it is written by Alison Greaves, a trans woman, and the book is about a kid, a supposed cis boy, who discovers that his friend has gone missing at college in the UK. And while he's searching for this role model in his life, basically, at the grocery store, he runs into a woman who looks suspiciously like this boy that has disappeared. So he starts trying to figure out, okay, what happened to him? Is this woman related to him? And so digging into it, he discovers this, what would you call it? A dorm on campus, a dormitory on the university campus. And he discovers that, there's a bunch of boys that have gone missing over the years from this campus. And in this dorm are a bunch of women who look suspiciously like these men that have disappeared. I say boys, I say men. They're 18, 19 years old when they disappear. So this kid, Stephen Riley, decides to investigate what is going on. And I'm sure most trans women hearing this right now know exactly where this is going, and it is going in a similar direction to where you think it is going, but there are some twists and turns in there, and it is a wonderful story once the setup of the premise has been established. And what's nice too is that like it's basically a collection of chapters that are being published on Patreon by Alison Greaves. And then these chapters get collected into books, and the publishing is going a little bit slowly based on the rate of the chapters being published online. But the newest book should come out the day that this episode goes live, which is book 2, which is the next collection of chapters. Actually, if you give me a second to run away from this very quickly, I can go grab the book. Thank you for waiting. I hope that was not too long. I might just like cut that out in the actual edit. But anyway, this is the book. The series is called The Sisters of Dorley, and it's called Welcome to Dorley Hall. This was published, it got beat up in my bag a little bit, but this was published, I want to say, in 2024. And book 2, which I think is called The Secrets of Dorley Hall, comes out supposedly this week, maybe next week. I'm not sure. It's not clear. I reached out to Neem Tree Press, the publishers, and they have not answered, unfortunately. Because I am dying to read more. You can read it all online. I believe you can read it all online for free as well, although I have not found where. But supposedly the chapters get published 2 weeks early on Patreon for Patreon subscribers. If I remember, in all my busyness, I will actually link the Patreon in the show notes. But I do recommend, if you're queer or at least a trans woman, check out this book series. It is awesome. If you're not a trans woman, there are a few pieces of shorthand that aren't fully explained clearly. Like they mention like a lot of like trans shorthand, like FFS, orkies, this is all stuff that you can kind of infer from context, but it was a little bit like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about because these are this is trans terminology. But other than that, it's like fantastic too. Also, I do recommend this for people who aren't trans to kind of understand what the trans experience is like. Because I found it very, very relatable. And it was endorsed by Tori Peters, who wrote Detransition Baby. I was not a fan of Detransition Baby. It was a fine book. I couldn't finish it. I didn't relate to it nearly as much as I related to this book. But both books are great. If you're interested in queer, trans, like stories written by trans women for trans women about trans women. Detransition Baby and Welcome to Dorley Hall are high on the list. Supposedly there are going to be at least 5 books because when Alison Greaves is publishing on Patreon, I'm not actually sure of her pronouns, but I assume she, her, and when she publishes, she does say that this is like going to be part of book 5. This is going to be part of book 4. So I already know that they say in the book here that there's going to be at least 2 more books published by Neem Tree Press here. We've got Secrets of Dorley Hall, and then we've got, which is supposed to come out very, very soon. And then also teased here is Enemies of Dorley Hall, which is book 3. You can see on the spine that this is book 1. So anyway, and then book 4, I think, was just kind of finished and put online. All the chapters are there, and book 5 is just starting now. I'm not sure how far the story goes. I don't want to look it up either because I don't want to accidentally fall upon any spoilers because I'm very invested. It does feel a little slow burn, but anyway, I do highly recommend it. I really, really recommend this book. Please go check it out. It's getting a little hard to find book 1. I'm not sure what the publishing status of this is. It looks like there's a reprint from a different publisher coming later this year. I hope it's more widely available. I know if you're in Toronto right now, there are still a few copies sitting around in the Indigos locally, which is where I got it from like a long time ago, I guess back when it was published. But I do highly recommend checking this out. This is what I've kind of spent a lot of my time on. I'm almost done. Like, I'm really close. And then I'm going to start book 2, which I am just like salivating for. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. That was my kind of segue or my spiel, my life catch up before I kind of just jump into all the headlines here because, a lot of headlines. Like I said, lots of news. There were a bunch of layoffs. There's a follow-up on the Ubisoft walkout. There was a Nintendo Direct, not a first-party Direct with Nintendo updates, but a third-party, partner showcase. There was a PlayStation State of Play, which was like an hour and 15 minutes long and full of reveals. We're only going to be talking about the queer stuff in these Directs, or like these presentations, because otherwise I'd be here like literally for 9 years. There were a bunch of multiplayer game announcements and updates. There were some queer TV, I can't even speak today, queer TV shows and movie announcements, and so much more. There's a lot of headlines. I'm going to get through it as quickly as possible while giving you the information you need and also my commentary. And then, of course, afterwards, I will be jumping into a pre-recorded segment with Cleo, and we're going to be talking about Unbeatable, the rhythm game that came out back in December. All right, before I jump into all of that, though, I do have a few quick favors to ask of you, true avatars. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. Spotify has ratings and comments, while Apple has reviews. Engagement like comments, ratings, and reviews helps to grow the podcast, and a growing podcast means a happy podcast host who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to her show, which creates an infinite feedback loop of more podcast episodes and more growth and more happiness. So please go leave a comment, rating, or review. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, please like this episode, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you're the first to know when a brand new video drops. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast on social media. Their accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok at True Avatars, and you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, no spaces. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so please check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and updated discussions that are relevant to queer gamers, so you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. It's time for the news. Okay, there's lots of news. We're going to start off with I'm going to start off with the bad news first, because there's like a bunch of layoff stuff happening. So development studio 10 Chambers, they're the developers behind GTFO and Den of Wolves. These are games I've not heard of, by the way, but when I hear layoffs, I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about this, whether these studios are queer inclusive or not. Like, I just think like we're a woke podcast, you know? So we're going to talk about this. So quoting from the Video Games Chronicle article here, the Swedish studio, which hasn't announced a release date for Den of Wolves, said in a statement that the cuts would affect a large number of employees and claimed it had made them for the benefit of the project. Highly doubt that, but anyway, I don't work there. I just hope the devs that have been laid off, in whatever number were laid off, can land on their feet. I'm really not sure how many of these developers that are getting laid off are landing anywhere, because if you think about the number of layoffs that are happening and the number of hiring the amount of hiring that has to be happening too, like if everyone's making cuts, it seems like a lot of people are just like being forced out of the industry, and I sincerely hope not. But again, it's the sense I'm getting from most creative industries is that like it's pretty rough out there right now. Starting to feel it in my industry too, the film industry, television industry, just video content creation. So if you are a dev who's been affected by layoffs and you want your voice heard, feel free to reach out and give me an update on what's going on. I would love to know so I can at least know for my own peace of mind, but also talk, and maybe not even peace of mind, but just probably not peaceful, but to talk about on the podcast even as well, if you want to just give us an inside look. But also I understand if you don't want to do that, but it would be interesting to know what the state of the industry is like from people who are actually experiencing it versus these press, little tidbits from the press and from LinkedIn things. Speaking of LinkedIn, so that game that was the big end reveal at the Game Awards, High Guard, it was released. It's not doing so well. Most of the studio is being laid off. This was first reported by someone on LinkedIn and later confirmed by the studio itself, from the LinkedIn, post, which comes from, let me see here, Alex Grainer. And Alex Grainer wrote, Wildlight has confirmed, wrong tweet, quote here. Unfortunately, along with most of the team at Wildlight, I was laid off today. This one really stings as there was a lot of unreleased content I was really looking forward to that I and others designed for High Guard. And so Wildlight did confirm this in a vague way. They wrote, Wildlight has confirmed it's made, or VGC wrote, Wildlight has confirmed it's made an unspecified number of layoffs. And then Wildlight said, today we made an incredibly difficult decision to part ways with a number of our team members while keeping a core group of developers to continue innovating on and supporting the game. We're proud of the team, talent, and the product we've created together. We're also grateful for players who gave the game a shot and those who continue to be a part of our community. I'm not sure what the player count of High Guard is right now. I understand that if the player count goes down, there'll probably be more layoffs. The game might, I don't know if the game is even going to be shut down. But the way Alex Rainer was talking seemed to be like, maybe the implication there is that some of this unreleased content will go unreleased, although Wildlight seems to confirm that this content is going to move forward. I imagine that would be based on the player count. And if that continues to either remain steady or increase. But multiplayer games really have a hard time taking off these days because there's already so many ones that already have like their claws in people. So I'm really not sure how many more of these multiplayer games can kind of survive. And there's another one they announced last week that we're going to talk about as well in the podcast, which actually kind of looks cool. I feel like I have a sixth sense for most of these when they're going to tank. Like I saw Concord immediately and I thought like, okay, this seems like cool characters, but I'm not sure why I would want to play this. Basically, I feel like But then again, I also don't play any multiplayer games, but I just have this like sense that like some of these are going to be dead on arrival. I think the Horizon one has a shot. That's the one that got announced this week. But there was nothing about Highguard that screamed to me like, this looks fun to play. And I don't mean to crap all over the devs' work. I'm sure they worked very hard, but as a product and as a player, I just don't see what is special about Highguard versus other multiplayer games. Why should I play this? But then again, the only multiplayer game I've really gotten into is Rocket League. And even that has kind of crapped the bed a little bit. So maybe I'm not the target audience, but I do kind of, I just feel like when I see a reveal, I'm like, this looks fun or this doesn't look fun. And the Horizon one we're going to be talking about later does look fun. So I don't know. Maybe it has a better shot. It also has an established IP behind it. And it is coming from the main devs. Anyway, Highguard, I hope the people that are left on the team can stay there, and I hope the game does well for the sake of the developers. But again, if the game isn't fun or worth playing, I don't know how long it's going to be sustainable for to continue developing and creating content for that game. Speaking of companies that are, this isn't even a segue, let's just talk about Ubisoft at this point. So Ubisoft has been not doing so hot lately, with a lot of restructuring, and the response to that restructuring that I think I talked about, I think it was the last episode I talked about this, but it might have been the episode before that, that Ubisoft was, at least the French unions were calling for a walkout of all of Ubisoft's workers over the world. They called for a 3-day walkout / strike from February 10th to 12th. This walkout did happen. 1,200 workers did join in out of an approximate 17,000 employees. It's not even 10%. I'm proud of the people that did walk out. It's disappointing to see that more people didn't. I'm sure there's a good reason for that. It's really hard to risk your job, especially if you're not part of a union. It's very easy to get laid off if you're not unionized in the countries where Ubisoft operates, where there are no unions. I'm not sure if the Toronto, the local developers here at Ubisoft are unionized or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if very few of them walked out if they're not unionized, because unless everyone does it, it's really hard to keep your job after that fact if you're not protected by a union. This is why unions are a good thing, by the way. I'm very tired of reading anti-union sentiment, even if it's bots and what's the word for like when you pretend you're like, you get a bunch of bots to pretend to make it look like all the comments are humans, and then suddenly everyone starts like joining in on the group think of that, and then suddenly everyone hates unions. I forget what that's called, but there's a term for that, and I feel like that's what's kind of going on lately. And a lot of subreddits and a lot of communities online like Twitter, where it's like the dead internet theory. That's not the term I was looking for, but it's like bots talking to each other, and then suddenly humans are reading it and thinking, oh, well, this must be what everyone's thinking, so I'm going to join in on that. And groupthink is, again, where everyone starts thinking like what their peers are thinking because everyone's thinking it, so suddenly you join in and it becomes a homogenous thought. And I do feel like a lot of that is what's causing all the negative sentiment towards things like minorities and the queer community and unions, all the things that are good in the world, are just being hated on because of this, these things that are happening. And I do think that's also why unions have this bad rap suddenly. And yeah, there's a lot of issues with unions. The unions are not perfect, but they are significantly better than where we are, than where we would be without them. I promise you. We probably wouldn't even have breaks if there were no unions at this point in time, especially with late stage capitalism being what it is. And anyway, that is like pretty much the bad part of all the news for this week. I didn't want to cover some of the other bad news because it's also long. Like, for example, there's the Discord stuff that's happening. Discord is requiring age verification, which either requires your face and information, your biometric data, or I think it's biometric data. I'd have to double check that. And they also maybe want like a picture of your ID. So basically your personal and private information. And there's a lot of details to that we're going to talk about next week, because that's like an entire segment. It's on its own. So this is all the bad news for this week. The rest of it's pretty much video game announcements, or video game adjacent announcements. So I'm going to talk about that next, but that is basically, all the labor stuff for this week. Okay. I'm going to take a quick drink of water here. Okay. Overwatch 2 is dropping the 2. Quoting from the Video Games Chronicle article here, Blizzard has announced that a major content update for Overwatch 2, which will see the hero shooter drop the 2 from its name, add an unprecedented 10 new heroes, which are playable characters, and kickstart a new story-driven era. A Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game has also been confirmed, with a release later this year alongside its second 2026 season. From February 10th, Overwatch will kick off a year-long narrative arc, The Reign of Talon, which will unfold across 6 seasons. Blizzard says that this is the first fully connected annual storyline in Overwatch history, with world-building, events, hero launches, and art direction centered around the fictional Talon group's rise. Okay, that's the quote from the article. Yeah, basically they're just doing a big revamp. They're dropping the 2 from the name, so it's just called Overwatch again. I don't think that means if you played the original Overwatch, they'll both be the same game. I'm not sure if they're like combining the 2 things into one. To be honest, I don't play Overwatch. I just know it's queer inclusive. There's really no confirmation of more queer content coming in this update, but in the past they have had LGBTQ plus friendly skins. Maybe not skins, but like decals. My brain is not functioning right now. A lot of words have escaped my brain. But yeah, cosmetics. Cosmetics. That is the word I'm looking for. They've had queer cosmetics before, and I'm sure those will probably be back. And hopefully there will be more in addition to the stuff that already existed. However, there's also some controversy. They also released a new playable character, Onran, the older sister to Wooyoung, and fans were upset because her design was changed to make her look younger. Apparently, fans feel that there are too many young female character designs already, and she's supposed to be older than the character that she's the older sister to, right? So you expect her to look older. We already saw her design in a previous reveal, and even Onran's voice actor was disappointed by the design change. So Blizzard is correcting this, though. They did come out and announce, the games director did come out and announce, saying that they will make her look more like the fierce older sister, oops. Fierce older sister that fans expected. The update is coming in Season 1, which is happening now, but there are no specifics yet. I'm not sure how long a season lasts either, but I have to imagine that if Season 2 is debuting this year, then we'll see the characters sometime this year, before the release of the Nintendo Switch 2 version. Yeah, I don't play Overwatch, so I don't really have too many thoughts on this. It is nice, though, that fans are, for once, complaining about a character looking too young. Usually, the kind of uproar you hear about female characters is the other way. They want her to look more pretty, less flaws, look younger. Usually misogynist views. So hearing that they want the character's original design back is nice, even if that character's... I didn't take a look at the original design. I didn't get to see it. I was literally like, there's so much news that I just didn't have the chance. But it is really nice that, for once, that seems to be like less misogyny-based feedback for a game like this. So a little bit of wokeness is back on the menu, thankfully. Also, so here we have another headline here, 2 headlines actually. So Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I'm still going to cover it, even though there was some AI controversy with it. It is still a very queer game, and a lot of people love it, and I still haven't had a chance to play it, but it is very popular. 28 members of the dev team were knighted by the French government last week. So the Knights of the Order of Arts and Letters, the Order des Arts, et des Lettres, my French accent is terrible, it's merde, is a prestigious French cultural decoration established in the 1950s to recognize significant contributions to the arts. That comes from VGC. So 28 members of the dev team received the knighthood from this order, which is pretty cool, actually, that this game has had a significant impact on French culture globally. I think it's like France's first big independent game that's like massive like this, that like took off like this. So I think that's part of the reason. It also won another Game of the Year, along with 5 other awards at the DICE Awards, which come from the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences in the US. Ghost of Yote also won 3 awards from the DICE Awards, including Outstanding Achievement in Character, Outstanding Achievement in Original Music Composition, and Adventure Game of the Year, which is pretty cool. 2 queer games getting this much recognition is really exciting to hear, even if they are big AAA games with big backing. It is really important that we have queer representation in these bigger games as well, even if it's not perfect. Like, there's really nothing queer about Ghost of Yote, aside from anything that Erika Ishii brought to their performance. But the game is not inherently queer, but it does feature a queer actor in the lead role, and I think that's really important representation, even if most people playing the game probably have no idea about that, because Erika Ishii is very cis female presenting in the character. But in real life, if they do any Googling of Erika Ishii, they will see that people will see that Erika Ishii is very much queer in every sense of the word. And if again, I've talked about this on the podcast before, but Erika Ishii is gender fluid, and goes by, I think, any and all pronouns. So, for anyone who doesn't know, I know there's been some new people listening to the podcast or watching the podcast, in the last couple of months. So anyone who's like, hasn't gone back to listen to, I know some people do go back and listen to old episodes when they discover it, but if they don't and you want some context, I will always do my best to provide context. Okay, sorry, I'm a little manic today. There's a lot to get through. A lot of fun headlines coming up, though. Let me just take a drink of water here. So, there is a Baldur's Gate 3 TV series coming from Craig Mazin. If anyone doesn't know that name, I bet you've seen Craig Mazin's work. Not only did Craig Mazin, I think, work on some of the scary movies, which you're thinking, Zoe, what? Craig Mazin also worked on the Last of Us TV show, so far all 3 seasons, I think, and also the Chernobyl show that brought him out of the scary movie world and into like prestige TV world. If you haven't watched Chernobyl, it's not super queer, but it is super awesome. You should go watch it. It's really well done. I don't say awesome in like it's like a nerdy kind of like Game of Thrones awesome, but it is a very exciting, well done, edge of your seat show about the Chernobyl disaster from the 80s. The accents are a little too British though, considering they shouldn't be British, but anyway. This comes from the Deadline article. Unlike HBO's The Last of Us, which retold the story from the PlayStation games, the Baldur's Gate TV series will be a continuation to the games, telling a story that takes place immediately after the events of Baldur's Gate 3, as the characters old and new are dealing with the ramifications of the events in the third game. Quoting here, I was already quoting, but this is Craig Mazin's quote. After putting nearly 1,000 hours into the incredible world of Baldur's Gate 3, 1,000 hours. Sorry, I whispered that. It's probably going to get cut out of the filter. 1,000 hours? What? It is a dream come true to be able to continue the story that Larian and Wizards of the Coast created, Mason said. I am a devoted fan of D&D and the brilliant way that Sven Vinke and his gifted team adapted it. I can't wait to help bring Baldur's Gate and all of its incredible characters to life with as much respect and love as we can. And I'm deeply grateful to Gabe Morano and his team at Hasbro for entrusting me with this incredibly important property. I don't know how he has the time to play 1,000 hours of a video game while also showrunning The Last of Us and now Baldur's Gate 3. Zero idea. I barely have time to play like 20 hours of a game in a week. And I know he didn't probably play that 1,000 hours in a week, but I don't think I've ever played 1,000 hours of a single video game, not even a Pokemon game. So that is impressive. Although you do want to hear that the person making the show is a big fan of the content they're basing the show off of. It's also really cool that some of these shows are not direct adaptations. It leaves a lot of, I'm not as big a fan of like continuations through a different medium. I do like to see my favorite stuff adapted to the screen instead of kind of like followed up on. However, it does mean that there is less room to change things that have already been established in a way that you know in your brain. And also the story gets to continue at least somehow because Baldur's Gate 4 is going to come from a different studio if it ever comes at all. We know that Larian is not working on Baldur's Gate, probably due to the fact that Hasbro has not granted them another license, or they simply don't want to work on Baldur's Gate anymore. Maybe they're just tired of it. They've made 3 of those games and they're done. I'm not sure, but it is nice to know that, this will satiate fans in the meantime before Baldur's Gate 4 comes. I'm sure it'll be many, many years before it comes, because if a new studio is working on it, they A, have to get their bearings, and B, develop the game, and games take so long to make now that like it could be a long time before we see Baldur's Gate 4. And again, we don't even know what state Baldur's Gate 4 will be in. Will it continue the story? Will it be a new story? Will they respect what came before because it's a new dev? Who knows, right? So anyway, this is a good stopgap. Really good stopgap. And also, given the fact that Craig Mazin was also very respectful about keeping all the queer stuff, at least so far, we haven't seen the trans kid yet in season 3 of The Last of Us. But assuming he's in it, we hope that at least Baldur's Gate, the TV show, whatever it ends up being called, will at least have all the queerness that the game had as well. Also, the Helldivers movie, Jason Momoa has been cast as the lead role. As previously mentioned, Justin Lin is directing. For anyone who doesn't know who Justin Lin is, Justin Lin directed the 3rd Star Trek movie in the, the Kelvin timeline. So there was the J.J. Abrams remake, there is the J.J. Abrams sequel, which was the remake of Wrath of Khan, and then they did Star Trek Beyond, I think, and that was Justin Lin directed that. And Justin Lin also directed Fast and Furious 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I think 9 as well. But those were the best Fast and Furious movies that were made. I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious series, and Tokyo Drift has got to be one of the best racing movies ever made. It's great. And that was from Justin Lin. So I have faith that even if Helldivers is not a queer movie, it will at least be a fun one. Because he directs action very well. And also announced in this press release, or in this Deadline article, is that the movie is coming November 10th, 2027, which is not that far away, which means shooting has to start soon. So we should be seeing a trailer for that probably next year. Probably about a year from now. We'll probably start hearing about a lot of marketing, if not set photo leaks and stuff like that throughout this year. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that there is a new multiplayer Horizon game coming. So a few months ago I talked about a mobile game that is also multiplayer coming called Horizon Steel Frontiers. This is not that game. So Guerrilla, the studio behind the actual Horizon series, is making this multiplayer game called Horizon Hunter's Gathering. It's coming to PS5 and PC, unlike the mobile game, which I don't think is coming to PS5 at all. There is no release date, but this does have a more cartoony art style, so it doesn't look like the Horizon games. The Horizon games look very realistic. This looks much more cel-shaded and cartoony. It doesn't look bad, it just looks different. Sorry, I need to take a drink of water here. But Guerrilla, in their announcement, despite making this multiplayer Horizon game, did reiterate their commitment to single-player games. They didn't say anything about making Horizon 3 or whatever. They might not even be making another Horizon game, but this game does seem to be continuing the Horizon world building and story. It is canon, actually, to all the Horizon games, which is kind of fun. Aloy is in the game, but she doesn't seem to be playable. She just kind of like is there to kind of like bridge the gap between the story. Basically, she recruits a team of like hunters to fight the beasts in the games. I can't remember what they're called. I couldn't finish the first. I did finish the first Horizon game. I couldn't finish the DLC. I like the story of Horizon. I like the world. I do not like the gameplay. It is just not for me. That is okay. If you like it, that is not to say I think it is bad. It is just not for me. But I didn't play Forbidden West. I just played Zero Dawn. This multiplayer game. I mean, multiplayer games aren't really for me, but this game does look really cool. It's a small roster of characters that will grow over time, and the gameplay shown was very much not final, but the combat does look very similar to Horizon, which is super tactical, but it looks a little bit more faster and fluid and a little more arcadey. It's also team-based combat instead of single-player combat, so that is reflected in the gameplay style as well. It looks very dynamic and flashy and fluid, a little bit faster. The Horizon Zero Dawn combat did feel a little slow and clunky to me. I couldn't get into it. This looks a little more fun, a little more like you could button mash if you want to. Also, there's other elements to it too, like before you go out on these missions, there's a customizable hub and base that you can build up before you head out, and you can also recruit, you can like find your other teammates there and head out beforehand. And they did say that there's a playtest coming. They didn't say when in the actual trailer, as far as I could tell, like the announcement video. But this from Video Games Chronicle, they did say that Guerrilla plans to launch a small-scale closed playtest at the end of February, which you can sign up to via the PlayStation beta program. There was no link to the beta program. I'm not sure if you can just like enroll in the beta program or not. I think I did have the opportunity to join the beta program at one point. But when I saw the link, I was actually out and about, and it was like a whole thing. You had to like sign an NDA basically. And I was thinking to myself like, okay, I could sign up for this, but anything I play in this, I would not be able to talk about in the podcast. And the only reason I was interested was to be able to play stuff early to talk about it on the podcast. And I can't do that. I just don't have time to beta test stuff as well. So, if you are in the beta program, please enjoy. Let me know how it is. If you can talk about it. If you can't, don't break NDA. But I am very excited to see more about this, even if I just watch the cutscenes and playthroughs online. Again, a lot of people seem to be very negative about this in the YouTube comments, which I guess is typical. Sometimes people are positive, but I did think it looks cooler than stuff like Concord. Even Helldivers, I think it looks a little cooler than Helldivers. That might be sacrilegious to say. But there was one comment in the YouTube section that made me laugh, and someone wrote, Horizon, zero interest, which I thought was very funny. But if you are interested in this or not interested in this, please let me know down in the comments. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Speaking of PlayStation, Nintendo and PlayStation both had, like showcases this week. Like Nintendo had a partner showcase and PlayStation had a state of play. I'm only going to talk about the queer games announced in both of these, and I'm going to start with the Nintendo Direct. If I was talking about all the games that excited me, we would be here, I think I said earlier, literally for 9 years. I think that is still true. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, is coming to Switch 2 on June 3rd. That's not really the biggest part of the news. It is a queer game. That is exciting. We already knew it was coming to Switch 2. Now it has an official release date. I think the most exciting part of this news is that it is coming very, very soon. Less than 6 months after Part 1 launched on Nintendo Switch 2, Part 2 is already coming. I figured it would come out closer to the fall, like maybe August, September timeframe, and then that would put Part 3 at a mid-2027 release date. For years, people have been theorizing, and myself included, that Part 3 would be coming maybe in January 2027, in time for the Final Fantasy VII OG anniversary. 30th anniversary. But because this game is coming out so soon, and I think it's also going to be coming to Xbox as well around that time, that means that I'm pretty confident they're rushing this out onto multi-platform so they can launch Part 3 in January 2027 on all platforms. And apparently Summer Games Fest is right after the release date of Part 2 on Switch and Xbox, or Switch 2 and Xbox. So that means they're probably people are theorizing that they're going to reveal Part 3 at Summer Games Fest, and it's no longer going to be a PlayStation exclusive, and it will launch on all consoles in January, which is exciting for me because I want to play it on PlayStation, but Switch 2 would be cool as well. But I want to play it soon. I gotta know how, I am not someone who actually played the original Final Fantasy VII. I plan to go back to it at some point, but at this point I just don't have the time, so I'm very excited though to play Part 3. I can't wait for it, so that it's coming much sooner than anticipated is awesome. And it's probably going to be just as queer as the first 2 parts, if not more, which is really exciting. So very excited to find out how the story ends. Hollow Knight, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. It's a free upgrade. So this is also coming to PS5 and Xbox Series, but basically the OG Hollow Knight is getting a performance boost. It's getting a performance boost up to the specs to match Silksong, basically. So resolution upgrade, 120 FPS, the works. It is available right now, and I think it is free. Also, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink Endless Ragnarok. I did look it up, and apparently Grand Blue Fantasy has a bunch of queer characters. I'm not sure if a Relink does, but the series itself does. Quoting here from one of the articles, known for its dynamic combat, ensemble of versatile characters. Actually, this comes from the Nintendo page. And thrilling online co-op, this latest version of Relink features expanded solo and multiplayer content, bringing an endless adventure to Skyfarers both old and new. So Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is an online game. It's like a co-op RPG, like action RPG. Endless Relink seems to be an expansion of that in terms of making it a little more accessible to smaller groups of people, it sounds like. And maybe even solo content. Or it does confirm solo content, but I'm not sure how much solo content there will be. But it does include 4-player co-op locally or online, and it is coming July 9th, 2026. I do recommend checking out the trailers for this. I think there's a 16-minute reveal trailer if you just Google that. I'll try to remember to include it in the show notes. In fact, I'll write that down here. Just to include that because it did look interesting for anyone who is interested in that. And also the Nintendo Direct revealed 3 other games. I mean, they showed off Scott Pilgrim EX again, reiterates that it's coming March 3rd. Bigger announcements. Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition finally has a release date. It's coming to Switch 2 on February 24th. It already launched on other consoles. I'm kind of waiting for it to come to Switch 2 and then also get a discount. That's probably when I'm going to play it. But it does look on par with the Anniversary Edition on other consoles, content-wise, visual-wise. Maybe a little bit downgraded, but still looks really good, all things considered. Yeah, I'm glad it's coming out soon. I'm glad that it's not taking too long after the Anniversary Edition, I think, launched, last November. So only a few months after, which is good, because Borderlands 4, I think, and I think I also forgot to include this in the show notes as well, but Borderlands 4 is also been put on pause, I think, for Switch 2. And we know that Baldur's Gate 3 is not coming either. So the fact that this comes out soon, it seems to be running well on Switch 2, it looks great, is really good news. Speaking of Bethesda games coming to Switch 2, we're also getting the Oblivion remaster sometime in 2026. The gameplay footage shown seems to indicate it will run similarly to other consoles. Again, slight downgrades, but looks pretty good. And they didn't really say much. They just kind of showed off that we're basically getting the exact same game on Switch 2. So, and I think the physical editions of all of those are codes in a box, unfortunately. So I'm just going to be picking those up physical, or digital, when they inevitably go on sale, because these are big games too, right? So And that was pretty much it for the Nintendo Direct. It wasn't super queer heavy, but all things considered, it was pretty good. The PlayStation State of Play had a bunch of other queer games as well, including they finally announced the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Volume 2. So it's actually been a few years. I think they apologized for the wait. But this, basically they released, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, ports, on Switch 1, on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series a few years ago. And they said that there would be Volume 2 coming soon. They didn't say what would be included, but most people speculated that at least Metal Gear Solid 4 and Peace Walker would be in it. And those are indeed the games that are included, as well as the Game Boy Color game Ghost Babel. And this is the first time Metal Gear Solid 4 has been on consoles other than PS3. So that's exciting. It's really good news. I believe Peace Walker was the game recommended to me by Shivani back when we talked about Metal Gear Solid Delta. So I'm really excited to play these. I don't know when I'm going to get to them, but this doesn't come out till August 27th anyway, so there's a lot of time. In fact, I think that's about a year after Delta came out, so there's no word. They didn't say this was the last volume, but I assume I've been looking it up, and it seems like there's enough content to make a volume 3 as well at some point. So I guess we'll see, but yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, and Ghost Babel are now coming. And you can also get them individually or as part of the Volume 2 bundle. The PlayStation State of Play also announced that Ghost of Yotei Legends is officially coming on March 10th. This is a multiplayer co-op mode. It is free if you already own Ghost of Yotei. It is just included. You can download it. Basically, you work together to hunt down demonic versions of the Yotei 6. Like, for example, the snake. I think he had like a snake coming out of him or something like that. And I think the snake is the first villain you fight in Ghost of Yotei. If I remember correctly, there's like a tutorial boss fight at the very beginning of the game to kind of teach you the combat. But basically, if you played Ghost of Tsushima and you liked that Legends mode, this is more of the same. Just like Ghost of Yotei is like an improved version of Ghost of Tsushima. More of the same, but in a good way. This is also that. Darwin's Paradox also, if anyone remembers this, I don't know, they've talked about it in a lot of different showcases over the last few years, but it's basically, it looks like Inside Limbo, but instead of playing as like a human, you're playing as a little octopus. Looks very cute, very funny. Illumination vibes, kind of like the Minion style vibes from the visuals, but it's getting a playable demo on all consoles, and that demo is basically a crossover with Metal Gear Solid. So the game itself has been announced to be coming April 2nd, which is good because I've been waiting for this. I need Limbo or Inside games like those. I'm always really excited for. And this one does have the little octopus, I think, moving around. Like, I think there's just some like Metal Gear Solid-esque elements in it. Like you can hide under a box, and the octopus has like a little Solid Snake costume, which will will carry forward in your file. If you play the demo and then pick up the full game on release, you will get that costume in the full game as well, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it looks super cute. I've been sold on this game for a while. I see that there is a physical edition coming from Limited Run Games. I'm not sponsored by Limited Run Games, but I did get a chance to go to the LRG store a few months ago. It was really, really cool. So knowing that I can get to that store in the future again, hopefully, I will be able to pick up a physical copy, because I'm not really comfortable with, it's always a pain to pre-order from Limited Run Games. You can't update your address. You can't enter a separate address from your billing address for some reason when you're pre-ordering through Limited Run Games. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems like an ancient system, despite the fact that like we're modernizing it with this new system. Anyway, so pre-ordering, and also they take forever too. And sometimes when they ship something, it's not what they promised. Like sometimes certain games will not come on the disc. They are still downloads, which again defeats the purpose of a physical dedicated company. But the store was really, really cool. There was lots of games that have been like unavailable to order on their website for a while. Stuff I can get here locally at VGP, but still cool to see in person. Actually, I can show you what I did pick up there. Is I picked up a copy of Chicory, Colorful Tale, which is super sad. I haven't cracked it open yet. I haven't had a chance to play it, but it did come all the way from the Limited Run Games store. I also saw a copy of Fear Effect that I couldn't justify buying because it's like, again, like $40 US. And when the digital version is like 15 Canadian, I can't justify that. But I had to pick up something as like a little souvenir. I thought it was really cool. And if I get a chance to pick up the Switch 2 version of Darwin's Paradox in the future, I will. Yeah. Anytime there's like physical games, I do like to support them when I can, when it's affordable to do so. But sometimes buying digital is just so much cheaper. Anyway, I am rambling a lot. I'm a little manic. I apologize for that, true avatars, but we have still a few more headlines to go. So this is kind of a bulk news story here again. From Software on Switch 2 is still happening. For anyone who doesn't know, From Software makes games like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, stuff like that. In Kadokawa, the parent company's latest earnings results, and I'm quoting from the VGC article here, it suggested that both games are on track to release this year. So that's Elden Ring Tarnished Edition was announced for Nintendo Switch 2. That there was no mention of either of these games in the Nintendo Direct, which is a little strange. So people were worried. So they did reiterate that these games are still coming this year. They are still Nintendo Switch 2, coming to Nintendo Switch 2. I know there were some issues with Elden Ring Tarnished Edition running on Switch 2, like its performance, and that's kind of why it's been quietly delayed. And the Dusk Bloods, which is basically the Bloodborne multiplayer-like game, which is also, again, the last time we heard about that was around the Nintendo Switch 2 announcement back last April. So both of those are still slated for a 2026 release. And they are still intended to be, or at least Duskbloods is still intended to be a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. I think the Tarnished Edition is also just the name for the Switch 2 edition, but it's just got all the content that you would expect from all the other consoles. I'm not sure if the complete Game of the Year complete edition is called that on PS5 and Xbox Series, but if they can get Elden Ring Tarnished Edition running well on Switch 2, I think that's where I'm going to play it. If I ever do jump into a Souls-like, that will be the game that I play, because there are ways to make the game easier, and I like easy. I like to play on baby-ass baby mode, people. It's my favorite. Sometimes I just don't want games to be hard, you know? Sometimes I want hard, sometimes I don't want hard. Elden Ring is definitely one of those games that is too hard for me, so I have zero interest in Duskbloods, though. So hopefully we can get Cleo on the podcast to talk about Duskbloods when that comes out, if she indeed has a Switch 2 at that point. But we'll see. We'll try to get someone on. Yeah, it's good to know these are still coming, though. I'm sure we'll hear more about Duskbloods, especially if Nintendo has like a June Nintendo Direct. I know there's been rumors about a Direct happening this week. I doubt that, personally. I feel like they would have just done a bigger Direct with their first-party stuff in the partner showcase, but they've also got a very packed month full of announcements. I think we'll hear more from Nintendo in June, and at which point we'll probably hear that Duskbloods is either coming sometime in the fall or maybe has been pushed to a 2027, early 2027 release date. I'm not sure, but I could see it getting pushed a little bit, especially since Nintendo has a lot coming out this year, and if Elden Ring is already taking too long for them, maybe that pushes Duskbloods as well, especially if Elden Ring comes out later in the year. Maybe they don't want those games to launch too closely together, but I'm glad to hear that those are still coming. Apex Legends, Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch version of Apex Legends, not the Switch 2 version, but the Switch 1 version, is shutting down this August. Quoting from the article here, Season 29 will be the final update for Apex Legends on Nintendo Switch. Future seasons of Apex Legends will continue to be available on Nintendo Switch 2. Starting August 24th, 2026, which is Season 30, Apex Legends will no longer be playable on the Nintendo Switch system. Until August 4th, 2026, players can continue to jump into the action, earn rewards, and enjoy matches per usual. Beginning August 4th, 2026, in-game premium currency will no longer be available for purchase on Nintendo Switch, though any existing balances can still be used before August 4th, 2026. Players can use any existing balances from Nintendo Switch on Nintendo Switch 2. So basically, your stuff will carry forward to the Switch 2 version if you have a Switch 2, but if you only have a Nintendo Switch and you want to play Apex Legends, you're shit out of luck. Continuing here, all players' progress, purchases, and earnings are tied to their individual EA accounts. Everything that has been earned or purchased, including Apex coins and cosmetics, will carry over to Nintendo Switch 2, even if you purchase Nintendo Switch 2 after August 4th, 2026. All your stuff will still be there, but you have to have a Nintendo Switch 2 to continue playing on that account. Please note that in some regions, local laws require you to use digital currency within 180 days of purchase. Well, that's a stressful addition to the point there, but yeah, I don't know if that qualifies for Canada or the US. I'm not actually sure which regions that is the case, but if you're in one of those regions and you are playing the game only on Nintendo Switch, consider using your currency before August 4th, 2026 to at least make sure that it doesn't get wasted if you can't get a Nintendo Switch 2 before that 6-month period is over after August 4th, 2026. So I guess if it has to be used within 6 months and August 4th is the last chance to use it, that would mean February 4th, 2027 is your last chance to use that digital currency if you're in a region where that law applies. And again, all of this applies only to Nintendo Switch and not the Nintendo Switch 2 version, which is carrying forward for the foreseeable future. If you have a Nintendo Switch 2, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're only playing on Nintendo Switch, this is some concern. Although it's not as bad as it could be, I guess, considering everything will carry forward tied to your account and not the Switch 1 version itself. Okay, there's some Diablo news. I don't play Diablo at all. Barely even breathed at it, like sniffed at it. But I know there's some queer content in Diablo, so I thought it was worth talking about. I pulled this news from Video Games Chronicle, but there is a 30th anniversary stream linked in the show notes if you'd like to know more. So that comes from the Diablo 30th anniversary stream. Blizzard has announced, and when am I recording from here? The Video Games Chronicle article, which kind of breaks it down. Blizzard has announced a new Warlock class in Diablo 2 Resurrected, Diablo 4, and Diablo Immortal while teasing a big announcement at BlizzCon this September. The Warlock is part of a major update for Diablo 2 Resurrected, titled Reign of the Warlock, which is available to purchase now. This makes the Warlock the 8th character class in Diablo 2, and the first time it's received a new class in 25 years, which is wild to me that a game that's 25 years old just got new content. Even if it's also in Diablo 4 as well. Continuing from the quote here, when it comes to gameplay, the Warlock dominates demons, binding them to his will and consuming them when it suits him, lead game producer Matthew Cedarquist explained during a Diablo 30th anniversary spotlight video. As the spotlight video ended, viewers were teased with big news coming at BlizzCon, which takes place in Anaheim, California this September. In a fake ending designed to make it look like filming has stopped, Diablo 4 game director Brent Gibson turned to his colleagues and said, "Are we good? Are we clear? Oh my god, they're going to freak out at BlizzCon when we announce. At this point, the video cuts out." That's a really cool way to tease stuff. Make it seem like people are seeing something they're not supposed to see and cutting out just before. Obviously, the wait till September is a bit long, which is a little stressful. I mean, if I was into Diablo, that would stress me out if I knew I had to wait like 6 or 7 months to find out more. But it is really cool that such an old game is getting a content update, even if it is from Blizzard, unfortunately. But yeah, so if you're a Diablo 2 fan or Diablo 4 fan, or Diablo Immortal fan, this is good news for you, and hopefully the Diablo announcement in September is even more exciting. Okay, 2 more articles here. Yeah. There's a lot. Valve's new hardware has been delayed by rising PC part prices. I'm sure no one, to the surprise of nobody, but the Steam Machine, the Steam Frame, and I think there was also the Steam Controller. I'm sure the Steam Controller isn't as affected by this, but because they want to launch that new Steam Controller. I think it's just called the Steam Controller. They probably want to launch that aside the other hardware as well, so all 3 of these things have been delayed. But we know that, again, rising memory prices, rising PC parts prices in general, has affected the cost of everything in video games, and has delayed the Steam Machine, the Steam Frame. I'm waiting for the Steam Machine. I really want one because I don't really like to game on my PC. Like, I like PC gaming in theory, but I don't like to sit at my desk to play games. I sit at my desk to work all day on a computer. I edit the podcast, so I'd like to play in my bed or on the couch. So having something I can put under my TV that is like a dedicated console would be really nice. And then I can have all my consoles under my TV to play at will when I want. Also play lots of queer games that are on PC on my TV as well. So, quoting from the article here, which I think comes from VGC as well. I didn't even get to look through my other sources. I kind of just went through VGC for the last couple weeks to get everything, which is why VGC is my go-to right now. But they're a good one-stop shop. The limited availability and growing prices of these critical components means we must revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing, especially around Steam Machine and Steam Frame. Our goal of shipping all 3 products in the first half of the year has not changed. This is Valve talking, by the way, but we have work to do to land on concrete pricing and launch dates that we can confidently announce, being mindful of how quickly the circumstances around both of those things can change. We will keep you updated as much as we can as we finalize those plans as soon as possible. So it's good to know it's still coming, and it's coming in the first half of the year. They originally said early 2026, but then apparently, I need to look this up, but there was I found on Reddit, or via Reddit, like a website talking about Steam's release date announcements and their release date, like their actual release dates. And most of the time when Valve announces something, it's always delayed. I'll see if I can find that in the show notes to link it. But it was kind of like a shitpost. It was really funny to read it. And there's also a few times where they actually release stuff ahead of time, but it was much more rare. I think even the Steam Deck didn't meet their initial, I think they said December 2022 and it ended up being, or 2021, I think, and it ended up being March 2022 when 2022 when it launched, I think. And I barely got mine in that. I think I was Q2 for getting mine, and I got mine in the first half an hour of the pre-orders going live, and I think it was still towards the end of that Q2 that I actually got mine, so it took a while. So yeah, I'm really excited to grab a Steam Machine. hearing things that like the prices might not be where you'd hope they would be for a dedicated like console version of a PC. It might be more expensive than a PS5 Pro vibes. Again, that's not confirmed. That's all speculative. But the longer we go without hearing about an announcement of a release date, of a price, of all this stuff, it does make me more nervous that the prices are going to be a little more out of whack than they should be. Again, very disappointing, considering that I think the other consoles like a Switch 2 and a PS5 will be more bang for your buck. But again, the Steam, like your Steam machine will have access to your entire Steam library and hopefully compatibility with most, if not all of it. So there is some upside to getting a Steam machine if you want that, excuse me. But also, again, the price not be worth it, especially if you can. Again, also, here's the problem too, is that like, if a PC is more reliable and affordable to build now, who knows if that will be the case in a few months. Like, it's already expensive to build a PC, way more than it was even 6 months ago. So, yeah, anyway, things are getting worse in the prices of video games. Like, this is a hobby that is consistently and very quickly becoming very expensive. All my hobbies are becoming very expensive. The only hobby that's not becoming expensive is books. Books are still around the same price they've always been. They're accessible, they're approachable, in the same way that they've always been. So hopefully the cost of paper doesn't suddenly become very expensive, because I'm not really a fan of ebooks, but I'm sure ebooks every time I find a book that I really want to buy, the ebook is always significantly cheaper. So thankfully, ebooks have not become more expensive, but all my hobbies, Pokemon cards, video games, movies, all of it, expensive. Very, very expensive. Very hard to stay in. Yeah, disappointing, honestly. Really disappointing that the cost of living is just kind of like slowly squeezing us all. Not only pressure-wise, but also wringing us dry of all our money. So, alright. One final piece of news that I'm sure is going to sound strange to most people listening to this podcast, but I'm going to stand by this one. This is going to be a weird one, but there is a new Thomas the Tank Engine open world video game, train simulator, coming sometime this year. They haven't announced a release date yet, but it's called Thomas and Friends Wonders of Sodor. So if you've ever wanted to travel around the fictional island that's where Thomas the Tank Engine and all of his friends live, it's called the Island of Sodor. Last year, Train Sim World 5 debuted Thomas the Tank Engine themed DLC, where you could play as Thomas the Tank Engine or Devious Diesel on a British railway. I think it was the West Somerset Railway. And then you could, after that story content was finished, you could take Thomas and Diesel to any railway in the Train Sim world. No pun intended. And when that happened, fans were immediately thinking, myself included, like, it'd be really cool to get a full Thomas the Tank Engine, either DLC expansion or a full game set on the Island of Sodor with actual locations from the show, books, movies, what have you. And that call was answered very quickly, actually, because it's only been a year since that DLC came out, and we already have a full Thomas and Friends video game coming. So just kind of reading from the website here where most of the information is. And before you ask, I'm going to explain that this is a queer video game. This is a queer video game. You're thinking, Thomas the Tank Engine? Queer? I don't believe you, but it is. So, first off, there are a bunch of playable characters in the base game. For anyone who doesn't know, there's Thomas, Percy, Gordon, Diesel, and Emily. Most people who are listening to this podcast might, if you're older, you might not know the train Emily. She was introduced a little bit later in the show. She was retroactively given the number 12, so there was always like 11 engines that were numbered in the classic core cast. They eventually added Emily to diversify and add a girl, and then eventually she was awarded the number 12 to complete that original 11 engines. She's like I feel she's honorarily a character from the books. She's the closest, like her debut episode is the closest story there has been to the original stories written by the Reverend W. Awdry, like decades and decades ago. Her story feels most like that. Anyway, so those are the 5 playable characters: is Thomas, Percy, Emily, Gordon, and Diesel. Thomas and Diesel were in the original Train Sim world. The other 3 characters are new. And all these characters will star in original stories and stories based on the books and TV show in the game. I think there's 8 stories they're including. And then if you buy the deluxe edition, or you can buy this character separately, James the Red Engine, I'm sure everyone knows James the Red Engine because, again, he's a very classic character, will come with 4 stories as part of that expansion. James is the reason this is a queer game, because when Alec Baldwin narrated the show in season 5, he looked directly at the show's creator, Britt Allcroft, and said, "Is this character gay?" And she said, "Yeah, basically. And so he played James, when he voiced James in the show when he was narrating, he gave James a very flamboyant voice. And if you watch the show in season 5 and you hear James's voice, you will understand that James is basically flaming. Flames the Red Engine. Games the Red Engine. Like, whatever you want to, put Jaymes, whatever you want to call him as a pun. Anyway, so James is technically canonically gay, even if not every interpretation of him is. A lot of the fans consider him to be a queer character. Thus, this is a queer game. Thus, I can now talk about my favorite franchise of all time on the podcast, and I'm about to get very, very annoying about it. But it looks really good. Like, all the locations are recreated very faithfully. They started with Reverend W. Audrey's original map of the island. And then they went to the TV series, and then they went to later in the TV series, and then they added some new locations as well. But it does look really cool. Like, if anyone's seen the Thomas the Tank Engine theme song, all the locations from the theme song are in the game, recreated faithfully. And I think that is just so, so cool. And I think there are also physical versions coming, which means this is a year that I'm going to get a brand new Pokemon game on Switch 2, physical, and a brand new Thomas the Tank Engine game, physical, on the Nintendo Switch, because it is coming to Nintendo Switch. And apparently, Train Sim World already runs pretty well on Nintendo Switch, which is really cool. So it's coming to PS5, PC, Nintendo Switch, and I think Xbox. Just gonna take a quick drink of water here. I am way too caught up in my own excitement, but it does look really good. And they're also using some of the original music, or at least the original themes from the TV show in this game as well. I do highly recommend checking out the website, which includes the trailer. They are using, for anyone who's really nerdy like me, they are using the CGI era models, which is, before the show ended back in 2020, there was like 10 years or so there with 10 years? Yeah, about 10, 11 years where they moved away from the live action, like, model series, where they were used like the miniature, like model trains. They started doing CGI. Towards the end, they upgraded these models and added like rivets and other details to the trains to make them look a little more realistic. And so they have taken those assets from the show to repurpose in the games, and they have actually updated them to make the rivets a little bit smaller to make them more realistic, and added a few more details, which is really cool. Also, in Train Sim World 5, when they had these characters show up, Thomas and Diesel, their faces were static. I think their eyes moved, but the expressions did not change, the mouths did not move. And it looks like at least the expressions do move, and you can change the facial expressions at will on the trains as well, which is really cool, because Diesel had this like constant smirk that just didn't suit him, as far as I'm concerned. It works in motion, but not static. So anyway, I'm just, really happy that they've really kind of gone above and beyond to make this. And I do hope they continue supporting with more characters in the future. There are lots of characters I'd love to see in the game, other locations too, so hopefully they add more down the line, and hopefully the release date is soon, because I really want to play this, and I'm really excited to pick up a physical copy on Nintendo Switch, because that is very, very cool. No one needs to know how many Thomas the Tank Engine physical pieces of media I have on my shelf. No one needs to see that. It's definitely not something I need to get into now, but that is one of my hyperfixations. Anyway, okay, that is all the news for this week. Thank you for bearing with me. And after this short musical interlude, I'll be back on to talk with Cleo in a pre-recorded segment about the hit PC rhythm game Unbeatable. Hi, true avatars, and welcome back from the break. I have with me Cleo. Cleo is a trans woman whose pronouns are it and she, her. Cleo is a gamer and my friend. Welcome back to the podcast, Cleo. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you for having me.
I think this is going to go on live on February, but I'm saying Happy New Year. It's still January, and I still qualify that.
It still
just
counts.
For listeners. It still counts.
We haven't talked like this. It still counts. It's fine.
Yeah, we haven't talked at all since before.
Yeah.
I think the last time we spoke was actually on the last recording, which would have been, episode 66?
Probably. I mean, I think so. So yeah, Happy New Year counts. It's fine. It's fine. I'll allow it.
Cool. All right. Meanwhile, everyone listening in February is just like,
what? What are these people? Oh my goodness. Ooh.
But getting into the meat of this segment, we're going to be talking about Unbeatable, the rhythm game that reminds me very heavily of Kill la Kill and Scott Pilgrim. Obviously, I'm going to ask you if the game is reminiscent of those, but I just want to say I'm going to pretty much let you kind of like take things where you want to take them, and I'll ask questions. We were talking just before we started recording about spoilers. This is going to be mostly spoiler free. If there's a spoiler that comes up in natural conversation, we'll flag it. But otherwise, at the last 5 minutes or so of this segment, I'll kind of let you go off on spoilers, and we'll just do a quick warning there too. But we'll do spoilers at the very end, because I don't know if we'll be coming back to Unbeatable in any heavy way for the next little bit, because the podcast seems like it's gonna be pretty busy with new releases as well, and we're already 2 months late on Unbeatable.
It's fine. It's fine. It gave me time to just like play it for 30 hours and just like, yeah, this game's the best game I've ever played of 2025. What are you talking about?
So it's your game of the year for 2025?
100% it's my game of the year 2025. I sent a message in the Discord at like 2 a.m. one night, because I was like, oh, I'm going to finish Unbeatable. I'm like, probably near the end of the game. I played it for 2 hours. I finished like chapter 4, got through chapter 5, and I was bawling my eyes out. And it was like, no, this game is perfect. It's beautiful. Everyone should play it.
So there's 5 chapters? There
is, I believe it's 5 chapters with a little prologue at the very beginning, which starts playing a character. You play as a character named Eve. She's a member of the band. The band One More Final, playing a really big concert. I think it's their last one, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a minute since I played the opening chapter. And it's like a little introduction into what the game's like, where you're walking around exploring the backstage area and you're getting called out to the front by your rest of your band. And it's like, we can't keep stalling. Get your ass out here. And it opens up with one of the first songs. It's called the Bookend song. It's the opening version of it. There are 2 versions. And it is the prelude to the game. It introduces you to Eve and Quaver, who is very clearly her daughter, in this short moment, and then it cuts, and then everything goes to crap. We cut to, I think it's a few years later, as Beat running through a field up to a house where you meet an older Quaver, like, oh, thank goodness you're here. You made it, finally. Quaver is 12, and they make it a point to always pick on Beat and Quaver, because Quaver's a kid. Beat's like a full adult. It's like, yeah, you're an adult. Go talk to the other adult. Like, go do it. Like, it's really silly. But sorry, getting off track immediately. Oh my God.
No, you're good. You're so good. So I do have a question for you, actually. So
please.
Did you play the demo? Because I've only played the demo. Did you play the demo that they released last, I think, October, November?
So I have played the demo and White Label, which they put out for a few years ago as like a teaser for the game, with a little slice of what the gameplay is like, and some of the little story beat as like some story beats as like an introduction to the characters. So I have been playing this for a minute.
Okay. So then my question for you is then, if for the demo at least, and obviously White Label too, is any of that content in the final game?
White Label stuff, no. That is very much this is an early concept of what the game is. Here are some unfinished tracks that we like. These aren't going to be the final mixes of the game. Here they are in their unfinished state. And for feedback going forward, the actual demo that was released is chapter 2, I think, or like the start of chapter 2. Where everyone wakes up in the water and they're on a beach and they find a hut, which is where like their base of operations for a little bit. So yeah, the demo starts at chapter 2 and kind of gets the ball rolling. I should really talk about the concept of this game. The tagline is "Music is illegal due to crimes," and that is the whole game. Because after this event with One More Final, those time cuts, music is illegal. It's banned everywhere. And it's bad. There's no music anywhere. It's all quiet. So it's about bringing the overarching concept is bringing music back to the world, finding yourself when you're lost, and kind of coming to terms with who you are and how you've changed from one point to the next. And it's very, very nice. It's very beautiful. I have seen a lot of people on the Twitterverse say this is a very trans game. And I fully agree that it's very transcoded in a lot of ways.
In what ways? If they're not spoilery, obviously.
It focuses a lot on Beat and her progression as you learn more of her backstory. It's not necessarily called out that she is trans, even from a young age.
Yeah.
But it's very much like, oh no, the overarching themes of finding yourself, you're not the you were 7 years ago. Like, everything that's happened from then to now is a part of you, and you've changed and grown in a way that you're a completely different person. And I think that's really, at least that's how I see it. I think a lot of people see it that way too. That's how I read it. And even some of the music and the songs and the lyrics really kind of echo that, if not outright. It feels like there's that undertone. kind of
I think
running
one of the
through it.
composers is trans specifically.
I do believe you're right. I don't remember who exactly, but I do believe you're correct. And there's a lot of music feature, like guest tracks from trans artists. Lena Raine, Jamie Page, just like a couple of standouts right there. Amazing tracks all around. The gameplay, it's notes come in from either side of the screen, so you'll be focusing either on one side, the other, or both at the same time.
So sorry for context for anyone who's never heard of Unbeatable. I'm just going to say as well, it's there's a story elements to it, but it's also a rhythm game.
It's a rhythm game. It is a pure rhythm game, but the story mode, it doesn't focus on that. It kind of cuts in with different kinds of mini games and the actual songs, but at its heart, it is a rhythm game. Should have started
with that. Of music? What the genre of music is the?
I want to say it's more like kind of rock. Like, especially like in the main album, it's very rock and.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm trying to see if I have anything. No, the Bandcamp page doesn't have a genre listed, of course, unless I'm missing it. Let's see.
It's bordering on kind of punk rock, though, right?
Yeah. A lot of the themes are very punk. There is a song where is it memorized? I'll just read some of the lyrics. I say the lines, the syllables, got it memorized so I can make it stop. You treat me like a criminal, so why shouldn't I treat you like you're a cop? It's a lot of fun. But the game itself is a rhythm game. The actual gameplay of it, there are mini games that kind of mix things up, but the heart of it is there are 2 lanes, top and bottom, and you move from either side, left to right. So you'll start a song, it'll start on the right side, both lanes with notes coming in, and then it'll zoom out, show you where the other note's coming from the other side, and you'll swap over. And then you can sometimes find songs where it zooms out all the way and you're hitting notes from both sides, kind of testing your focus. And there are different kinds of notes. There are hold notes. I don't remember all the names they use. But there are hold notes, notes where you just have to mash on the buttons as much as you can while that's kind of on screen. The regular notes that as you hit them, they disappear. Notes that bounce from both lines. So it starts up at the top and it bounces down to the bottom when you hit it. So it really mixes up the game a lot. And there are notes you have to avoid, or like little spikes you have to avoid so you don't lose your combo. What else am I missing there?
Well, when I played the demo, I found it very, very difficult. Now, you played the demo and you played the main game. Am I just bad at it? Or was the demo harder?
It is a very tough... It's not like a typical rhythm game where either there's lanes or you're looking at the full screen all at once. It takes a little bit of adjusting to, of getting used to it at first. But when you kind of find that point where you can kind of just like unfocus just enough to see the notes coming and hit them, and then when it zooms out, it's like, okay, wait. Oh, God. What do you mean? It is a lot more difficult than other rhythm games I've found, especially with some songs and as the difficulty spikes.
So the thing that I found difficult about it, though, and I don't know if this was just like, this is why I ask if I'm just bad at games, because in any rhythm game, like there's a little bit of adjustment period for me, like maybe like, I want to say 10 to 15 seconds, because I used to play the drums a lot, and I feel like I have a good sense of rhythm. But I found that even if I got the rhythm of the beats down for pressing the buttons correctly, I was still missing the timing of every single one, and I would constantly fail songs. No matter whether I was in the arcade mode or the story mode, I literally couldn't finish the demo because I couldn't like press time the buttons correctly. And I was playing on Steam Deck, so I'm wondering if it was an optimization thing. So I guess that's my question is like, did you find that the demo was consistent? The gameplay of the demo and the timing of everything was consistent with the final game?
I found it consistent, but I also messed around a lot with the timing windows to make sure they fit with my system.
Okay.
So that maybe
I didn't know you could do that. That's really cool. Okay.
It'd be in the options menu. You can like calibrate your video and audio. So if something's like a little bit misaligned, you can set your audio like 5 milliseconds behind or ahead, and it generally can kind of fine tune your experience.
I feel like slightly less of a loser now, because I was like, I feel like I should be good at this. It was really fun, but it was really challenging. But then the fact that even if I felt like I was getting the timing right of like just the pace of the rhythm, I was still missing each note, and I just felt ridiculous. So
yeah, no, I totally can see that, because when I started playing and I had no calibration, I was like, oh wait, no, I shouldn't be missing all these notes. I'm a pretty decent rhythm game player. I think I've played. Okay. And once I dialed it in and like did the different calibrations, like, oh no, this is fine. I'm hitting my notes where I need them to. And now it's just a skill issue. I'm bad at the game on its own. Send help. But going through the game, I'm like just beating my head against some of those songs in arcade mode has been like, no, I think I'm okay at this game now. But some of the timings are still a little bit weird, but I think it's just a me thing and like misreading the notes as they come.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I have another question for you. I'm not sure if I've kind of steered you away from where you were kind of aiming for, but we can always circle back. Like we have time. So you mentioned that the prologue of the game is like before music is illegal and it's their last show. Is it their last show because music is about to become illegal? Like they're about to pass the law, or is it just a coincidence that they're about to do their last show?
So this is going to veer into a little bit of spoilers. It's the reason music is illegal is because of something that happens at that last show that is the catalyst for the rest of the game. But that's not revealed until the last chapter when you see it again from another angle.
Okay.
So it is just like the thing that happens during that show is what causes the entire game.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why music is illegal, because, that's bad, because you never learn what happens at the show for the entire, like, yeah, after that, music's bad. This entire, this entire security firm is built up because of it. And there's a big tower in the middle of the city, and it's like, yeah, that's their base of operations. They set up right away to make sure music was illegal and shut down right away, because every time music plays or is like any kind of music, the notes you're hitting, the monster spawn. And that is bad, as it turns out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I guess, Mike, I'm going to do a little explaining for the audience, then I'll kind of jump. But first off, I do want to ask, like, have you watched or read or played any Scott Pilgrim? And also, have you watched Kill la Kill before?
I have watched some of Kill la Kill. I have read a bit of Scott Pilgrim. It's something I've always been needing to go back to just like dive into all the way.
Okay, I'm pulling up the Kill la Kill Wikipedia page just so I can properly summarize the premise of this. Let me see here. Okay, so the reason I bring this up is because the vibe, the aesthetics, and some of the energy, I guess, like just some of the characters and just like, I guess, yeah, just like the vibe of it all. It feels very like Scott Pilgrim meets Kill la Kill in it. And so I guess my question for you is going to be, do you feel that these shows are, these like IPs are reminiscent of this game, or Unbeatable is reminiscent of these IPs or inspired by? But before I ask you that, I do want to just explain for the audience so there's some context what these shows are. So I feel like, well, Scott Pilgrim, for example, I feel like most people have seen or read Scott Pilgrim in some way. I feel like in the general zeitgeist, people have some idea of what Scott Pilgrim is. So I'm not going to get too into the weeds about Scott Pilgrim, but Kill la Kill is a little more niche. It's an anime, from Japan, obviously. The series follows vagrant schoolgirl Ryoko Matoi on her search for her father's killer, which brings her into violent conflict with Satsuki Kiryuin. I'm not pronouncing that correctly, even though I've watched the show. The Iron-Willed Student Council President of Honuji Academy. And her mother, Regio Kurian's fashion empire. Ryoku, Satsuki, and others obtain martial arts superpowers from their clothes, which appear to have a will of their own. Now, I'm not going to get into... I think Kill la Kill is pretty effed up. I think there's elements of it that are just weird. And everyone I know who likes Kill la Kill is female. I've never met a single male fan of Kill la Kill. I'm sure they're out there. Not saying there isn't. But it's weird to me that women gravitate to this franchise when it comes off as very problematic in a lot of ways. Like, there are very problematic things in this show. And I think some of them are intentionally problematic, but others are, like, completely, like, it feels like the creator is unaware that they're problematic. And the creator is male, but, anyway, if anyone's thinking, like, what's the art style of Kill la Kill look like? Go look up Unbeatable or go look up Kill la Kill and you'll see they're aesthetically very similar. But, would you say that this game, like if I like Kill la Kill or I like Scott Pilgrim, for example, I'm not saying I like Kill la Kill, but if I liked those things, is Unbeatable something I should play? Did you feel those series are reminiscent of Unbeatable?
Not especially, especially not Kill la Kill, especially when it comes to like the story and the vibes. It's definitely nowhere near Kill la Kill.
Okay.
Yeah, like the art style's changed. It's been anime since the first inception of it. Even in the Steam description, it says it's anime. I don't know what specific animes it's taken inspiration from, but it is clearly set in Japan with the batting cages and some very specific references to, I think it's Akihabara, the Shibuya crossing. So it's definitely in Japan at some point. But in specific animes, I can't specifically pin down a specific reference point.
Okay. I think the fact that it's anime inspired at all just tells me what I kind of need to know. Like, even if it's not Kill la Kill specifically, maybe they're all kind of like, all these things are inspired by the same general zeitgeist of like things we see in tropes and we see in anime anyway. Cause like Scott Pilgrim is heavily inspired by anime, video games, like Japanese culture. Despite being set in Toronto, it's much more like Japan inspired. The anime they made was obviously Japan made. And then Kill la Kill obviously it's an anime. So
yeah. Just trying to find something on the Steam page because there was something I was going to talk about and then I completely forgot what it was. I was talking about the story. Beat, Quaver. Chapter 2 starts outside on the beach.
Yeah, that's where the demo happens.
Yes. I'm trying to think about where I can go from there because there's so much in this game. Like,
well, it's very anti-cop, right? Like, that's kind of the vibe of it.
Yeah, throughout the entire game, you're beating up cops. You are playing songs and beating up cops. It is an entire minigame on its own. It's like, you run up to a cop on the street, like, hey, we're doing this. Like, what? And it just gets into a song that starts playing and you're beating up cops. Every character that you meet is named after like a musical term. So there's rest, quaver, beat, treble, clef, Penny, who is a very interesting character, Poco and Apoco. Like, all of the major characters are music inspired. It's really silly and cute. Let's see here. Going back to that demo chapter, a lot of the game is exploring. You won't get into a lot of the rhythm game part of it just in the story until you hit certain points. Like, you're getting to band practice or you're doing a concert and you have to play the songs that Beat has written because she's the songwriter and vocalist of the band as you kind of build it together. Oh gosh. But there are little moments where you find characters and you're like doing stuff for them. Like, there are kids outside of a batting cage. You're like, the batting cage is haunted. Like, we can't leave here. We've been stuck here for days. We can't go until we beat this. It's like, you've been stuck. What do you mean? Yeah, we can't. Like, we're stuck here. We can't do it. You have to beat this batting cage for us. We can't do it. And the batting cage is like run down and practically destroyed. And you go in there and it's a mini game where there's a song you can unlock when you beat it. And it's surprisingly tough. If you've played Rhythm Heaven, it's sort of like that, where you're given the triggers or like the tells, and you have to hit the baseball at the right time. Also, her bat is the mic stand. It's very silly.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
That's just her weapon when she's beating up, like, doing the rhythm game part of it. When she's beating up cops, she's using her fists, because of course. Yeah, it's a lot. All the characters are really well written and they all have personality. I think my favorite is Clef, who is the drummer. She is a total bitch to be like, no, I hate you. No, this isn't happening. Go away. And get into
See, that's what made it feel like Scott Pilgrim for me, is because the drummer of Scott Pilgrim in that movie also hates the lead singer, who's...
It's a very...
Well, I mean, I guess Scott Pilgrim isn't the lead singer, but you get what I'm saying.
I totally get it. It's a very begrudging, like, friendship of like, no, I hate you. Oh, you're the reason we're in this situation? I hate you. And why are we doing this? Why are we here? We should just leave. Because Clef and Treble are like famous music, like, idols. But they're terrorists now, so they're constantly getting thrown into prison because they're constantly getting into shit. It's very silly.
So, before we started recording, you were telling me how much time you spent on the story, and then how much time you spent playing the rhythm, like just the arcade mode with just the rhythm mini games and stuff like that.
I spent about 8 to 10 hours in the story mode, kind of trying to do everything I could. Don't even have all the achievements yet. But I played every mini game. I tried to do all the little bits and talk to every character. I tried to see everything I could. So I really took my time playing through it. And then the arcade mode, I spent the last 16 hours of that just in the arcade mode, playing songs in different difficulties, customizing my little profile. So I've got like a fun little nickname and like superstar, and like trying to get up to like 10. There's like 10 ranking levels. So I'm at rank 8 right now of 10, and it's a real grind to get any higher because you have to keep playing harder and harder difficulties. And I have...
So,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, go ahead.
No, you first.
No, please. I was about to steer us in a certain direction. So I'd like to hear what you have to say first. Sorry.
I lost it. Please ask the question.
I'm so sorry. It's sorry.
Fine.
Okay. Well, you said this, I think you'll probably find it again, because like you said, it's your game of the year.
Yeah.
Right? You obviously had a lot of fun playing it, but why is this game, out of all the other games you played last year, why is this game your GOTY?
Again, I played it until 2 a.m. I bawled my eyes out. I finished the last part of the story and went immediately back into it. Like, I gotta see this again. I can't go to bed without seeing this again. Every time I kind of sit, like, I could play Unbeatable. I could just kind of sit down and just bang out a couple songs, try and get up my rank, and just kind of, there is a comfort to this game that I haven't experienced in a hot minute. That's just like, this is just like, I can just, listen to these delicious songs. Ooh, what song am I playing today? I'm going to try and play it on harder difficulties, and we'll figure out how I can hit buttons better, because, oh God, I need to use more than 2 fingers. Oh, Jesus. What am I doing? I'm a huge fan of the art style and the music, and I'm just a big fan of everything about this game in a way that I kind of saw coming even from the demo. Like, yeah, this music is great. Yes, let's do it. Okay. Yep. I listened to the soundtrack I listen to it way too much. It is like, oh no. Yeah, I want to listen to this. Just put on something random, like hit shuffle. Oh yeah, there it is. Here is Mirror from the soundtrack again. Or just like Bang from the full-on soundtrack of the entire game. It's just so good. This game is art in a way that I didn't expect. This game is art in a way that it feels like other games don't match up to. And this is just coming from me in that, like, no, I can sit down and just like appreciate the craftsmanship that went into this game from everybody involved, from the musicians and the artists and the programmers. Like, no, this game is beautiful.
Do you have a favorite song?
Oh God, let me find it. Don't
play it for the podcast, but just because we'll get copyright striked. But
yeah, no, that's fair. I want to say the 13-minute song, but I feel like that's a lot of people's.
Is it actually 13 minutes long?
There's a 13-minute song. It is the last song you play in the story, and it's all amazing.
Is it actually called the 13-minute song?
No, it's Bookend Song. It's a full, there's an opening version, which plays at the beginning, and this is the full 13-minute bookend, yeah. But my favorite song is it's called Proper Rhythm, All There Is to It. It's a remix done during the last chapter by one of the characters that's a part of a giant fight going up an elevator. And it is one of my favorite songs of all time. It is so frenetic and packed. It just, the beat, it hits and, it is amazing. Otherwise, it's no. Now you've making me pick my favorite child or something. I think it's Mirror. Track 16 on the original, like the album, just the album that the band wrote. I have it in my description on Discord, like the first few lyrics. I think that is probably my favorite song on the entire soundtrack. Yeah.
So if you could give like an elevator pitch, loosely, to convince someone why they should play this game, like a listener on the podcast or even just me, why should I play this game?
Do you like music?
I do. I do like music.
You should play this game because it's about finding your love of music in a world that hates it. And a music that, in a world that doesn't want to exist, this is you finding your love of music again and like finding a place in the world for yourself and your group of ragtag friends.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. It's a really sweet game. And then it throws you curveballs and it's like, hold on a minute. Okay. Sorry. That's wild. What you've just explained to me, game. You need to stop. Like, it's, oh my goodness. Can we get into spoilers? I feel like I'm exploding.
Let's talk about spoilers. Let's talk spoilers. Okay, this is the last chance to jump out. If you're gonna play the game and you don't want spoilers, this is your last chance to kind of jump out.
Abandon ship right now. So Penny, her name is Penny. Pensato, I think, is the full term. It's not a real music term. She is from the jump someone sketchy. Like, why are you in? Oh, you're in prison. because at the beginning of chapter 1, you get thrown into prison because Treble and Clef are imprisoned and it's your fault. Like, oh, we should go save them. Smash cut, you're in prison. Like, what? You guys are idiots. Why are you in prison? And you meet Penny. Penny is in the game, kind of in the background. I was like, oh yeah, I can kind of do whatever. I have a mixing studio. I'm like, a mixing studio in a world where music's illegal? Come to find out, she is part of the big bad security team, and she's like the lead researcher into the things you're fighting called the Nothing. She is trying to understand and like take care of them and like stop them from coming in a really demented way, and that she's just doing experiments and like summoning them. But throughout the entire game, she's playing that she's on your side. Get to the final chapter, she reveals that she's the big bad, but before that, she is...
And sorry, can we go back just sort of before you...
Yes.
What is the Nothing? I don't think I know what that is.
Are like when you're playing their actual rhythm game part of it, the Nothing is what spawns when the music's played.
So when the music is played, the monsters?
They're the monsters.
Okay.
Yeah. So just getting to the end, to circle back to the beginning, you find out what the moment is that caused music to become bad. It is at the One More Final concert where Eve gets shot by a cop under, I think the cop sees a Nothing in front of Eve, and he draws his gun and shoots her, and that kind of is the catalyst for everything. It's called the Zero moment. And it's a moment frozen in time that is replayed constantly. And like, yeah, we don't get it. But Beat is apparently the closest thing to Nothing in the entire game. Of all the characters you meet, she has like nothing inside of her. She's a nobody. She's like, who is Beat? Nobody. But she does have a history throughout the game. There are these little interstitial moments, the dreams. You find out that Beat's mother has passed. She was in a car accident. She was in a band that kicked her out because she wasn't good at songwriting and she wasn't hot. Literally, one of the lines in the game is, "And you're not hot." Like, damn, okay, kick a girl while she's down, why don't you? But she gets in a car accident. She almost dies. And it is just a lot of like, oh, this character has a lot going for her, but at the same time, she doesn't think she is anything. Because as much as she wants to live, she doesn't want to die. I lost where I was going with that entire my God, my words, they failed me. Panic! It is a lot of game. Jesus. Should have played it again coming up to this. Penny's goal is to use Beat to try and find a way to make a person into Nothing, if I'm remembering correctly. And she thinks that Beat is the key and is trying to beat her down. And then... Why
is she trying to make a person into Nothing? Like, what's the goal there?
God, I wish I could remember. There was so much going on in that last little bit. I was like, okay, this is a lot. This is so much. Oh, like, it is so much at the very end, and I wish I could, I genuinely wish I replayed it going into this. But now I didn't have time. Regardless of that, time pass. Okay. Like, there's a cut, time passes, and everything is, because of your assault on the tower going into the end of the game in Chapter 5, all hell breaks loose in the city and the world. Riots are coming out. You end up you end up with Quaver's mom, Quaver's adoptive parent, Rest, who was at that point the head of the security company, kind of managing the situation of like, oh, music's illegal. They're managing it. They're taking care of it. And they kind of work together to get Beat back to the rest of the band to solve the problem, because music isn't the problem. There's a little bit of stuff I'm not entirely sure about. I think I do just need to replay it to kind of get a better understanding of what's actually going on there. But it leads into Bookend Song, where it's like, oh, the different characters are being swarmed by cops and like versions of themselves made out of the Nothing and beating them down, and Beat comes in and kind of starts playing and just kind of gets everyone back up on their feet to play this final moment and bring everyone back together. Quaver is, upset that she can't be with her mother anymore. Her mother's gone. What does she do with the memories of this person who she doesn't know, but has all of these different lingering parts of her? what about the people around them? Like, how do they keep going in the face of such tremendous loss? Because going into that, you find out Beat's mom passed, I think it was cancer. And like, she has a sister who's trying to take care of her. Beat was at her lowest, and she just leaves.
Sounds like a lot of moms die in this.
There's a lot of mom death. It's only 2 moms, as it turns out. But they have a big impact on the story, especially when it's like, oh no, yeah. One of the songs is like based off of, like, I think, what is it? Familiar? No, is it Waiting? One of the songs on the soundtrack is originally written by Beat's mom as like a, hey, I'm always going to be with you kind of deal. Like, it's really sweet and it's so cute. And then Beat turns it into like this more powerful song. I wish I remember which one it was. Oh my God. It is it Worn Out Tapes or Empty Diary?
Could be either of those. Those both sound bleak.
It is really good. It's really good.
So the question, I'm sure, if anyone's stuck around who hasn't played it, who's listening to the spoiler part, the question on their mind is probably something to the effect of, is the goal to make music legal again? Is that what they're fighting the power against? And do they succeed?
So we don't see the aftermath of everything. It kind of ends after bookend song where like, it's a happy ending. The band's together, Beat reunites with her family, and that's kind of the end of it. We don't see like, oh, a year later, what's going on. So I actually don't know. I think the end goal is to make music legal again and just like bring back, this driving force into the world the only way they know how, by being terrorists, and playing music as loudly as they can. Yeah, it's genuinely one of, I think, the best games I've ever played. Just in terms of how much it's affected me and how much it's stuck with me. Just like, oh, that's really fucking good. Yeah. I will remember bits and pieces of like the different chapters. Like, oh yeah, that was really cool. Like, yeah, that's rad. Like, yeah, of course we're going to beat up a cop on top of a building. And he's like, oh, I'm a big fan of your work. Like, yeah, I can't let you do it, but I'm a huge fan of you guys. Like, yeah, like this is cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan. And I will make it very abundantly clear, Unbeatable, when you're putting this up, it's either all caps or no caps, no in between.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I noticed it's always written with all caps. Yeah.
It's all caps or no caps. They make a big point of it in one of the points of chapters. Like, there's a character like, oh my God, I love Unbeatable. You're unbeatable. It's like, no. And there's like a little translator note. It's like, Unbeatable is all caps or no caps. Nothing else. They're little funny bits, and it's so cute.
Yeah, it's full of meta humor like that. I like that about it.
Yeah, it's really, really smart and witty. And it's just like really heartfelt with all the characters like going through their own things as the story progresses. It's like, oh man, like, yeah, of course. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you feel, okay. Like we find out, like, quick spoiler again, we find out Rest was in love with Eve, but didn't follow up on it because they shared a bed one night, and Beat was like, did you and her ever? And she's like, no, she had a boyfriend. Of course, because, Quaver's there and that's her kid. But it's like, oh no. It's really sweet and just like a really cute. And a lot of that game is really good. I'm going to replay it again because then I can actually remember things and have like decent conversation about it and not be like, what if half of this I don't remember? Oh God, it was 2 a.m. Send help. Yeah, it's really fun. I like all the music. Like as you play, you unlock the different songs that you play in the story. So like you unlock the little in-betweens, like the end of chapter songs that are like the big, oh, you're doing this cool moment where you're breaking out of prison. Here's the song, you can play it again. Or you're fighting a cop. Like, oh yeah, of course, I want that song because it's really intense and really heavy. It's really fun.
Oh, glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about all the time we have, though, for this segment. But where can people find you?
You can find me as Cleostrophobia. That's claustrophobia, but Cleo at the front on Instagram, and I think it's just Instagram on there at this point.
Cool. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy your replay. And that just about wraps up this week's show. Thanks to your avatars for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. By listening to the show, you are supporting queer-made content, which is more important than ever. If you want to support True Avatars, it would be really great if you could leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube under the handle @TrueAvatars, all one word, and on Facebook and Instagram under True Avatars. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when new content drops. I welcome you to check out the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com. That's all one word, trueavatarspodcast.com. On the website, you can sign up for the newsletter, where you can get exclusive news and updates on the show. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.